do you want to give yourself a little intro before we begin with the festival at all? As the founder, the creator?
Hi. I don't know who this, like, how this is gonna be edited, but I'm Astrid.
Yeah. It's whatever.
Yeah, basically, it's kind of funny because I feel like this festival, like 5 years ago when it started now, which is crazy, this festival was sort of a step into what I thought I might want to do in the future. And since then, I've gone through like a lot of different paths, and I currently can't decide what I want to do in the future and just keep like doing them all at the same time. So I wear a lot of hats. I work full time as a baker. That's like my actual job currently. And then I also was going to school at McGill doing an undergrad in gender, sexuality, feminism, and social justice, and a minor in Indigenous studies. And then the pandemic kind of put that on hold. So I'm going back next year to finish my degree. And when I was at McGill, I was like really focusing on feminist and queer film and media, and did a couple internships there with professors. I like found this amazing niche that just happened to be in that like exact kind of pocket.
No, yeah, sounds like it. That's
yeah, it was really cool. All of a sudden I was working on like I helped build a database of like queer horror films.
Oh, that's
It was so like there, and I was like working on a project with one of my favorite professors who puts on a series of like female and non-binary artists and scholars who talk about media accessibility in like various different manners, kind of like a broad topic. So anyways, a lot of fun there, a lot of niche. And then I've come back and like through this 5 years, now I'm like working on a film too for my grandma, which is really fun. And yeah, through the past like 5 years, there's been like a lot of different like aspects that I see in like Femme Fatale of what I'm interested in, but mostly like the festival I started it to create a community of like, I was just like so fed up with like dude bros at my school who like
completely understandable. Yeah
they like kept winning the awards, and like they'd have these like super shallow films and then like so much like money from their parents. There's like a couple in particular, but they would be boring and beautiful at the same time, and they would of course win all of the awards because it was so beautiful. And to be fair to them, like they did a really good job at part. Like they're
sure, yes.
I just like, it wasn't the story I was interested in. So Femme Fatale was really all about just creating a space for like me and my peers to show our work and have it on a big screen. So yeah, I've been kind of the festival director is the title I give myself for like the past 5 years, and I'm hoping at the 10-year mark, I'm going to pass it on to someone else. It's currently my goal. I love doing this. I don't really want to do this as a job full time, but I love.
No, for sure. It seems like a lot. Like you're taking on a lot, obviously. Yeah. And honestly, that's what I was saying before I started recording. Like, I couldn't even imagine like what's on your plate, and even through like the basic introduction of yourself you gave me, I don't know how you do it, and it's super admirable. Like honestly, I wish I could even fathom how you would organize all of that, to be fair.
It's not always a good thing. Sometimes it's just I need to slow down, which is
no, I'm definitely I definitely understand. Well, that kind of explained my first question, which was just like how the festival kind of came to be. I think that was a wonderful answer. Thank you for the beginning. I was also just going to ask, well, I guess never mind, you crossed out the second question as well, which is like basically what you set out to achieve from starting the whole festival.
Yeah, I feel like that's changed though too, because we started like
it was leading into my next question. Exactly.
Okay.
Then yeah,
so explain like a bit like the evolution, I guess, of Femme Fatale, because I started it in grade 12. I was 17, and I had like a project for an arts management course that I took that was all about like, I was at Etobicoke School of the Arts, so we were all doing art projects, and then it was like how to turn your art into business. And so for our final project for that course, we had to like participate in putting on an event. And so I was like, of course, the overachieving me was like, I'm just gonna start a film festival, and like did not know what that meant or what I was walking into. But I had like the amazing support from my teacher, Miss Kennedy, for that, and she was just like she was like able to kind of show me the basics of like what that needed. Otherwise, I think I would have been totally lost, and like I don't know. She helped me do stuff like press releases so people know to come to the festival, and like make a poster, and like figure out how how to have a relationship with your venue and all that kind of stuff that I would have been lost to do. So yeah, we started with that the first year. It was in person. It was at the Review Cinema on Roncesvalles, which was super duper fun. We had like 30 people attend, I think, which is awesome. I was like, that's great. That's a great number.
Yeah.
And we had, I think, like 15 filmmakers. And so we had all the filmmakers come up on stage afterwards, and we did a little Q&A, and it was really cute. And then the second year I was going to university, so I like had come back, I guess, for the summer to host it, and we did it at the Review again. And same number of films. It's like 15, 16 filmmakers, same vibe. But that year I brought on a filmmaker friend of mine, Sophia, and we like watched a little excerpt of her film, and then she did a Q&A and chatted about her work, which was really cool because I was kind of like, the whole point of Femme Fatale was like staged for young female non-binary filmmakers. So our filmmakers are all like 15 to 25. Yeah. But then I was also like, I want these people to be inspired to succeed too, and to know that there's like a space for them in the industry. So it was really cool to have people like Sophia come on and be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing either, but like I've done it, and like here I am, and I'm making these crazy films, and they're all really amazing, and they've been at TIFF, and they're playing here and here. And so that was a really exciting thing to see happen. And then in the third year, it was COVID. So I feel like it's been kind of funny because it's like, then our festival went online, and it was like the weirdest blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
As soon as we like went online, we started doing submissions through Film Freeway.
Right.
And that first year of COVID, we got like, I think it went from getting like 20 to 30 submissions a year to getting like 60 to 100 submissions a year.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
And we like doubled our show. We did 2 nights of the festival, and we did one that was all, I think it was one that was Canadian, maybe it was just North American, but like one North American, one international. So by then we'd already had like films from like around the world being submitted to our
that's
festival,
crazy.
Which was like so mind-blowing to me, because I really didn't anticipate that was a direction that Femme Fatale would ever go in. And I didn't even necessarily want it to at the beginning. I was like, this is going to be a Toronto-based thing for Toronto filmmakers. But then to see like all the filmmakers around the world who are in the same like qualifier for our festival, and everyone's kind of talking about the same ideas in their films and like bringing really interesting themes and the overlap, it was so cool to see that like, oh my God, all of these like women and non-binary folks all around are kind of converging here. And that was the same year that we started the Femme Fatale podcast. So that was super fun too, where like the idea there was sort of back to what we did with Sophia. We wanted to bring in some more established filmmakers and then interview them, talking about their like experience in film and like what kind of got them going and like what their creative life is like. And so we brought those questions to them, and then had a couple podcast episodes with like some pretty prolific like Canadian filmmakers there too, and some friends of mine, which was really cool, like people I look up to in the film world. And then and we also brought Carol Nguyen on in that first year to do an interview. I believe that was the first year that it was online. And I went to high school with her, and she was a year older than me at ESA. And she is like a freaking phenomenal filmmaker. And at the time that we hosted her at Femme Fatale, she was doing an Oscars campaign for her documentary, which is like mind-blowing too. Like,
super cool. Yeah.
She was like 3 years out of high school and like running a like Oscars campaign. And like, who are you?
That's so sick. Wow.
And then last year, I guess the most recent one we did, still 2 nights. We had like 30 films, still like around the world. Last year's one of the most exciting things was that we had a second grade filmmaker at our festival, which just warmed my heart so much. It was a little like a stop motion animation about a horse and a whale. It was super cute. They fall in love. It's amazing. And she's from like Austria, and it was just like this crazy like things happening of like, I have no idea who this little girl is, but she just like made a film, and now it's in a film festival in Canada, and like, yeah, that must be crazy. For me, it's crazy. Like, this is so cool. and kept doing the podcast. So, and then last year we started doing a collaboration with Rose Colored Theater too. So now between our festivals, we've been doing this collab, which is still rolling now as well. We have 2 more events for this season. And there we like bring in a female non-binary filmmaker, host their film, and then have a discussion afterwards. And the idea there is like trying to get like really hone in on that idea of building community and like how can we build a community of filmmakers with like, which is kind of an industry that's like inherently competitive, and how can we like bring these people together and like get them chatting and get them excited about working together. Even last year we had like a little Zoom after festival call hangout sort of thing, and we had 2 girls join from Mexico. They were both the like best in show winners of that year, and they joined from Mexico, and the 2 of them were like, wait a second, we like live not that far away from each other in Mexico, like we should collaborate. And I was like, wait, that's so cool too, that like you guys are, I don't even live there, but you live there and you're close. And so I haven't heard yet that they've collaborated, but I really hope that they do, because they're both phenomenal filmmakers. And yeah, so that's kind of been like, I feel like I'm missing something, but that's like been like the overall trajectory. Yeah, and super grassroots. We run on like no funding. It would be so cool if we got funding, but so far it's just like, this is all volunteer work. This is all just,
yeah, no, honestly, I assumed as much just like looking through the website and like your like social media postings. Like I recognize a few people that you've like been running the festival with, like
yeah,
and like people that I've also like know through high school, and it's like
oh, really?
yeah, like I don't know, like Rihanna and I were pretty good friends and like early.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, right. Like
she's the best.
yeah, super community. Like I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, regards to that, you answered a lot of the questions I already had in terms of like goals for the festival and like how it came to be. So like I really appreciated like the whole outlook. Well, like one of the other questions I had, just like, do you have any future plans going into this? Like, what did you initially start out with it? I'll restart there. Did you initially start the festival with the intention to continue on beyond high school, like beyond the project? Like you knew this was going to be more than one thing, or was it kind of just you liked how it played out initially and you're like, this is something I could keep doing? Like, I feel like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, is yeah, a really good turnout and just like a good experience for everyone, and just like how passionately you talk about it. I feel like you genuinely just like took it like all of it. You're like, I have to keep doing this. It's right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I feel like I don't know that I honestly don't remember like all the way back then what I was thinking about it, but I think I do remember my teacher telling me like, you have to write as if this is like going to be something big one day. Like you have to like pitching it to other people, pitching it to potential donors, or like in your press like review or press, what's it called? Anyways, your press kit about it and everything like that. You have to pitch it as if like it's gonna go places. So I actually in that first year in the second year, I talked to Tiff. I wanted to just host it at the Bell Lightbox, but then I got talking with someone who works there, and they were like, this is really interesting. We might actually be interested in like sort of like converging one of our like youth festivals with your festival. And I was like, oh my God, I'm talking to Tiff about like joining hands. Like, what does this mean? And one of my big goals has always been to like host it at the Bell Lightbox. It's really expensive, so we haven't done that yet. Also, it's like not exactly like this year we're gonna host it outside and have like kind of like a outdoor festival with like film festival kind of vibe, which like you said, like it's so community oriented. I feel like that's kind of the point. Like it's almost to move away from like a cinema space and be just about like sharing film. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so when I talked to Tiff about that, I was like, that's a really crazy, amazing opportunity, but it doesn't feel right for the festival because I want to keep it like at the ground level, and I want to keep it to be like between all of these people who like kind of somewhat know each other and like are making connections on a very like personal basis. So yeah, I guess my goals now are mostly just figure out a way to grow without losing that, which is really hard because I think I could very easily just be like, yeah, let's make this like some huge commercial thing and we'll do sponsorships with companies that we don't necessarily align with, but they're just going to give us money and that would be great. And it would make running it a lot easier and I would maybe get paid, but I benefit maybe. But it just doesn't feel right because the whole point is about creating a space that doesn't already exist. And I feel like if like the space would exist if it was like possible, the space would, I don't know, I feel like the space would already exist if it was easy. And the easy way would be to create, like, do all of these kind of like more corporate stuff. We did incorporate. I have to do taxes for us this year, so like that's really exciting.
There you go.
Legally own the name Femme Fatale Film Festival in Canada in French and in English, which is really cool. And that was kind of like my claim to like, this is my thing, like nobody can steal it. But also I doing that so that it's like stays kind of at like where it is now. Hopefully with like bigger, like we're partnering this year, or I guess more of like we're getting sponsorship from a neighbor of mine is actually neighbor of my parents is a lawyer, and she runs a law firm that employs, I think, almost exclusively women, and is focused on like supporting women's issues and housing issues and like very on the ground issues in Toronto of people who need support. And she's offered some very generous donations to us this year. So those are the kinds of partnerships that we're interested in, where I know her personally, she's lovely, and we get along, and we hang out with them on the street chatting with their dog. And also she's able to offer us financial support, and she is running a law firm that aligns with all of our interests and all of our values. And so those are the kinds of things that feel appropriate, but they're kind of like a needle in the haystack to find.
Oh, for sure. Even though that like it's still staying super community based, which is like super like, again, admirable, like respectable. Like those aren't even like proper words that I would use to describe it. Like I'm just like so like in awe that you've been able to like contain this thing for so like past 5 years, and like really hone in on it, and like not feed into like not necessarily corporate greed, but more so like where the values of the festival and like yourself and the people involved lie, and like exploiting that to perhaps get a bit more ahead in terms of like bigger festivals. Like kind of rejecting that idea is like very like, again, admirable. Like I'm in awe, honestly. I'm really respect it. It's super crazy to like know that it's like this big thing, and like, but at the same time it's for this like, again, niche group of like people in like a certain community, even still though expanding beyond and like bringing in international films and stuff. Like that's insane. I mean, honestly, like kudos to you and the entire team. Again, I can't show enough like respect for that, genuinely. Off of that, I was just gonna ask how you think that the goals of the festival, like now and in the future, have impacted the participants in terms of like letting them expand into more of like the film industry, rather than like, obviously it is a community and you want to build connections, but at a certain point, you're just kind of going in a circle. Like how have you seen people go beyond and like still kind of like involve themselves with the community and kind of get it bigger? You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I've got my favorite story for that. The one that I was like telling for so long. It's also sometimes like hard to keep motivated because it's like so much work that some years I'm like, maybe I won't do it this year. Like maybe I'll stop. And I always think of this this is literally the whole point of the festival, is like this story. Where there's this one girl, I don't know if I should say her name or not, but she is now a great friend of the festival. And I think in the second year of the festival, her parents bought her a ticket for Femme Fatale for her 16th birthday because she had mentioned an interest in filmmaking. And they came down, they're living just outside the city, and they came down for the festival and made a weekend out of it. And I like am at all of the events, obviously, and like saying goodbye to everyone at the door. So they came up to me and they're like, so glad you're organizing this, like explained the whole situation. And we're like, she really wants to make a film. And I was like, yeah, make a film, like submit next year. I'll keep a lookout for your name. I'm super excited to see it. And then I kind of like forgot about it. Like there's a lot that's going on. So it was like, okay, like, of course, that was a really wonderful moment. Even just that she was like inspired by the festival, and that they had like, it still baffles me that people like come to my festival that are not people I know. So like that in alone, like was like, oh my God, this is so cool that these people like came to this festival to be inspired. Like that's the whole point. And the next year, I noticed her name in the submissions. I was like, holy shit, like she submitted and she's got this beautiful film. And I watched it and it was like, not even lying, it was my favorite of the program. It was so good. And so just like to the core of like what I feel like we're talking about too, where it's like, obviously didn't have like super heavy duty equipment or a huge budget, but like had a great story, was able to tell it in a really beautiful way, and like worked within her means to make something really amazing. And so every year we do like a best in show award, and the best in show awards are decided by the audience, so I have no control over it. And that year she won the best in show award. So it was like her first, like the last year she'd just been there as a guest, as an audience. This year she's like won the best in show award. And so I interviewed her for the podcast. I guess the whole story is on the podcast. It's Emma anyways. I interviewed Emma for the podcast, and yeah, it was really lovely to talk about that whole story with her, because I had been using her as my inspiration to continue going with the festival, and she had been using the festival as her inspiration to continue going in film. So this was all like, she was so 16, 17, then she graduated high school and is at a university that I can't remember where, and is going into like screenwriting now, is really interested in screenwriting. And wants to be a filmmaker, wants to go into the film world. So that's kind of like what makes me so excited, is the people like that who are like, do use this as like inspiration or like a jumping board, or even if this didn't necessarily mean that she, like, I don't know that this is necessarily meaning that like she's seen at other festivals because of ours, but I what I hope it does is like boost people's confidence, which is what I think it did for Emma. And like showing her as well that like I personally, and I think that's what's so important about a small team and a really like community-based team, is like we personally wanted to see her work. Like when we saw her submission came up, like Naya and I, who had both been at the festival for a couple of years, we're like, oh my God, it was Emma. And we were like trying to make sure it was the right Emma, because we couldn't really remember her last name, and like going through like our ticket sales and being like, I think it's her, because I like see like a parent, like it looks like got the right, like, yeah, trying to figure it out. And then meeting her when she won the award and being like, oh my God, I do recognize her, it's the right one. So yeah, it's like stories like that that are really exciting to me, and that give me a lot of inspiration forward, and that I hope is like kind of what people are coming here for too. Yeah, and there's also like there's a filmmaker from the UK who was like, oh, I heard about your festival at school. I was like, how did you hear? Like, you literally live in like England. Like, what?
We're traveling fast. You know,
yeah, word's going around, I guess. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of submissions from the UK and from Mexico, so it's cool too to see it, like see people start to get the like word of mouth, get the message across in different areas, and like hopefully there's a lot of people. The age limit's like 15 to 25, so there's a lot of people that are like in their early 20s and doing film degrees. And some of the feedback I've heard from those people is just that like there isn't a festival like this where they are, where it feels like a community, and that's kind of also just like, that's so nice to hear, because I'm like, oh my God, yeah, we're doing it. Like that's what this is meant to be.
Yeah, that's honestly specifically the reason I wanted to showcase the festival, because I knew other people in my program were gonna go like big and like just research TIFF and all that. I'm like, and yeah, anyone can look into that, but like I like already previously knowing about the festival, I kind of had like a one up, but like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this. It's gonna be so good, because like you guys actually care, and like it's super cool, like a super cute community. But no, honestly, like I'm super glad to hear that it's gone beyond the community, and like other people are now like coming in from it, from UK and Mexico, Austria. That's insane. Like that's super cool. The only like last question I have for you is, do you have any advice or like words of encouragement you'd like to give those interested in partaking in an event like yours as participants, or say if someone wanted to create somewhat of the same community? Just any like general words of advice or like encouragement through your lens, I guess.
I feel like for the festival specifically, the biggest thing I've learned is that like if you need something, someone else needs it too. I think that's like what at the very beginning I was like, maybe this is silly because there's no way that people are gonna like catch on to this idea. There's big festivals out there and they're more important, and that's like there's a competition to get there, and that's like what people want out of film festivals. But even just from the first year of starting it and talking to my friends about it and like family members and even getting a couple people in that like had just heard about it from posters and whatnot, I realized that like, yeah, as soon as you have an idea of like something you want in the world, like chances are somebody else also wants that. And so a really niche community can be really beautiful because it means that all these people are like just that passionate about getting the thing that you're able to provide. So that's kind of like been the coolest part of Femme Fatale. And also because then it's been so inspired by everyone else who's interested in participating in it. Like even Naya was doing our social media for the past couple of years, and she designed our website and has been updating all of that content. And she and I were like, she sort of like brought the idea in for the podcast and really encouraged that. And that's not something like I think it came from us talking about it to really like be like, oh yeah, we should really actually do the podcast. Like that's a really great idea to make happen. Like we shouldn't just sort of sit on this thing. Or like Ona used to work with us, and actually got a very interesting text from her the other day. So maybe she's back in Canada, but she went back to Finland during COVID. And yeah, she was at Ryerson for film and had so much like insight there. And so it was really just about like for me, the team is like such a big deal because I can like have a vision for what I want, but to like fulfill all those ideas and like bring in new ideas and make the festival and everything we're doing more interesting, like all those other people are so necessary. And I feel like I've attracted them because they're my friends, but also because they're people who like need the same thing that I need or want to provide the same thing that I want to provide. So it's like, that's definitely a connecting element. Yeah, also I just don't stop doing what you want to do or what you love to do. No, I think I could have stopped like after a year and it would have been like, oh yeah, that's so cool, I ran that thing once. But the second year came around and I was like, do I really have time for this? I don't know. Do I really want to do this? Like, heck yeah. So I'm gonna just do it. And I mean, obviously, like there's a lot, I do have like a lot of privilege of my family being able to support me with like my grandparents give me very generous donations every year and stuff like that. But like the festival, honestly, first year it ran on like $650. So it's like not like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that crazy. Second year, it was like also like $650, which we raised primarily through a bake sale. Like just like grassroots stuff. And like and then the third year was online. So I think the fees in the end were like $100 maybe $200 for like making some merch, like not really anything at all. So there's also, I think there's ways to make stuff happen that seems really big and crazy, but you just kind of have to lean on people, you have to rely on other people, and like if you are inspiring them and bringing them together, they'll like give you a shot and then you can do it.
Yeah, I think that right there literally incorporates the whole point of literally the entire festival.
Yeah. And that's
all just
I like community, like I like community funding and stuff. I liked like especially the bake sale. That was so fun. I got like a couple, like Temple, who was working with us at the time, and then also my friend Phil. Like we all just got together, and Naya too, and like we were all just baking for this bake sale, and we all love to bake, and like there's something we each love to do independently, and then got to do this all together, and then everyone who's supporting us gets like food, and then they also get to support the film festival, and it's all like our friends and family. So that's like when the community element, it's like community supporting it, community makes it happen, it's for the community, it's all like these people together.
I don't really have any other questions. Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of the festival or yourself, or
festival weekends in June this year? Everyone should come. I don't know if I should say the exact date yet, because I'm realizing that we're going to try to host it at Sororin Park. That's the idea. And I haven't confirmed with them yet. So once we confirm, we'll like officially announce it, but it'll be in June. And submissions are still open. So if you have classmates who want to submit, or if you want to submit.
Yeah, honestly, thank you so much for the time to speak to me about it. I really appreciate it, and I feel really lucky that I get to do my project on a festival like yours. or at least like just in the broad scope of like being able to look into this community that like is so welcoming and nice. Like I literally can't say enough nice things about it and like about the whole project. Like it's literally I don't even can't really put into words how like heartwarming it genuinely is. But yeah, no, I'll definitely be there in June. So
yes.
yes. Yeah, that's all I basically have.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for reaching out. That's so cool. I'm so honored to be asked to talk about it. I actually like in the end don't really get that many chances to just talk about Femme Fatale, and you're right. Once I get going, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
No, right? No, that's completely fair. I don't blame you at all. It's super, super cool. And again, like I feel like it's just such a niche thing that a lot of people are like recognizing. So I mean, that's basically the whole point of the showcase and the whole point of the project. So
I'm so excited to see this project. I think it's such a cool it's such a cool broad spectrum project to have too, with like that much freedom to just explore something.
Yeah, definitely. It was super open-ended, which like scared me at first, and then I started talking to like my classmates about it. I was like, okay, yeah, you guys are doing like really big things, and like someone's looking at like Sundance. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm good. You're taking on a lot. Not that this isn't a lot. This obviously is a lot, but it's more so like I also felt like I would have a better chance of creating a connection, or at least being able to speak to you and about the festival, and that it wouldn't just kind of be like a pre-written script. Like I know you would have something to say, like, and be obviously genuine about your own creative project and idea. So again, thank you so much. I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. Do whatever you got to do, whatever next is on your agenda.
Some resting, gonna have a little nap.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah, well, thank you again for having me. That was so awesome.